going to explain the SCSA test report format to you today. This genuine SCSA test report format is standardized worldwide. At the top of the report, you have the patient details, which is followed by the guideline threshold values that are based on numerous published clinical studies. DFI values above 25 to 30% indicate that patients will have more success with an IVF or an ICSI rather than a natural or an IUI conception. What is unique to the SCSA test report is another value called high DNA stainability or HDS, which indicates the number of cells with immature chromatin and nuclear proteins. HDS values that are greater than 25% are considered negative for pregnancy outcome. We next come to the graphical representation of the test results. In the first graph, each dot represents a single sperm. Along the y-axis are cells containing native intact double-stranded DNA, and along the x-axis are cells containing fragmented DNA. As you can see in this sample, a small percentage of cells are present along the y-axis, while the majority of cells are present along the x-axis, indicating that this sample contains high levels of DNA fragmentation. The second graph is a histogram which splits the total fragmentation into moderate and high levels of fragmentation. As you can see, 42% of the cells in this sample have normal double intact DNA, while 41% of the cells have moderate levels of fragmentation, and the remaining 17% of cells have very high levels of fragmentation. Cells which have moderate levels of fragmentation tend to have a normal morphology and are capable of fertilization. But on day 3, when the paternal genome kicks in, these embryos start degrading and do not progress further. Cells which have very high levels of fragmentation actually have abnormal morphology, such as rounded or enlarged heads, and are unlikely to be picked up during an ICSI. Samples are always analyzed in duplicate, and the raw data is shown here in this table. The report values are based on the average of these two measurements. This unique SCSA test report will give you two values. One is the percentage DFI, which indicates the levels of DNA fragmentation in the sample, and you also get the HDS value, which indicates the levels of immature chromatin in this sample. The HDS value will help you decide whether you go for an ejaculate sample or a testicular sample. Right at the bottom of the report, you get the overall summary of the sample that has been tested, which will be helpful in further clinical treatment management of the patient.